Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our weekly Learn in Your Lunchtime webinar. As you should know by now, if you've been following me for a while, we have a vibrant student success coach community, which we talk about, and through which we have this platform to share top tips and secrets and experts like Jhan that we've got today. Everything regarding student success, helping you get through your studies, your qualifications, whether it's undergraduate, postgraduate, and even on into the workplace. So making sure that you're teed up for the best possible future in whatever career it is that you've chosen. And I'm thrilled today to welcome Jhan Berger into our studio. We're going to be talking about CFA, and Jhan is going to give a bit of an introduction to himself and some background about what he's doing and some exciting news about what's coming out, from his brand in the next number of months. So we'll be grilling Jhan on, exactly what that's all about and where you guys can get value and get more information. But before we get there, just a reminder that for those of you in the Student Success Coach Facebook group and our broader community, we've been running a bit of a laptop giveaway there. So very excitingly, about halfway through this webinar, we'll be announcing that. Tracy Ashington will be joining us to announce the winner there. And as you should know by now, we've done this once before, and we're thrilled to have donors who make contributions into the community, because we have a number of students obviously struggling. And if you don't have the basic tools and things that you need, it's going to be even harder for you to get through your studies. All right, so I think let's get into the discussion with Jhan, and let's give Jhan a bit of an opportunity just to introduce himself. Tell us about his background, what does he spend his days doing, and why he's here today. Jhan, good afternoon, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Well, yeah, good morning from London, really. So, yes, thank you very much, Peter. Really, really honored to be here. Your reputation precedes you, and it's super exciting to be part of this discussion today. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, that's absolutely a pleasure, Jhan. And indeed, I hope it's warming up there a little bit for you in London, where it's starting to get a little bit colder here in South Africa as we head into winter. Okay, Jhan, so you have spent the better part of the last couple of decades, I think, really helping people get through their CFA exams. So tell us a little bit about that and the type of work that you do, with people who want to study CFA. What is CFA? Why would people do it? And how do you help them be successful?
Well, sure. CFA stands for Chartered Financial Analyst. What it is, it's a postgraduate finance qualification. Probably people would choose to do CFA while deciding, do I do a CFA, do I do an MBA, or do I do a master's in finance? So typically folk who come and study with me are kind of thinking, okay, do I want to do an MSc, a master's in finance, with all the costs involved with that, and it can be quite pricey? Do I do a CFA, where it's essentially a correspondence course, probably a qualification that is the most recognized financial qualification in the world of finance, investing, investment banking, etc., more on the wholesale as opposed to the resale banking side? Or do I do an MBA? What it typically then gets decided between is folk typically do the CFA or a master's in finance, and then later on, with a bit more management experience, they do an MBA. There's a post-grad qualification, so you would have had to have done a degree or an accountancy qualification prior to doing the CFA. So I'm teaching post-grad students, typically ages between 22 and 42. That's quite a wide range of folk that I teach. So that's what it is. And in terms of what I've been doing, I've been teaching here in London mainly, CFA, but also Edinburgh, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, and pretty much everywhere you can imagine, from New York to Shanghai, for the better part of 2 decades. Came over to London in 2005, and it's just been a roller coaster ride since. So even with me and my little South African passport, the CFA for me was a global passport that allowed me to travel the world and teach. And it could have been employees of the world's largest asset managers. I suppose in South Africa, you'd be thinking about Old Mutuals and Sanlams. Of the rest of the world, you're looking at the Fidelities and the BlackRocks, investment banks like Goldman Sachs or Investec or Morgan Stanley, those kind of guys. It's folk who are sort of looking to take on an analyst role, and all folk who've got a sort of a more technical, techie background, or pure accountancy background, or even ex-military folk who've got that bit of their career and they want to get more into the asset management side of things, they would do the CFA. And the nice thing about the CFA, although it's an American qualification, it is the standard. I think the Financial Times referred to it as the gold standard in postgrad finance qualification. That one qualification, the exam you write, whether it is in Shanghai, Johannesburg, New York, or London, that exam is essentially the same exam. And so big employers like the BlackRocks, like the Goldman Sachs, for example, will recognize that credential, know that there's an international standard which they can trust, which is why the largest employers of CFA charter holders would be those companies. Very easy to see who employs CFA charter holders. You can see from the institute themselves, they'll tell you who the largest employers are of CFA charter holders. So it really is the who's who of banking and finance, and perhaps a bit more leaning towards the asset management buy side of the equation as opposed to the aggressive sell side part of the equation, which I know you're familiar with. So that's essentially what I've been doing for the last few years, and for the last bunch of years, pretty much setting up my own enterprise, taking all of the tips and the tricks and the ways of learning and distilling it into a course and pushing that out, because it is a hard qualification. The pass rates are dismally low. And I'm just trying to help people to who come from a background like mine, which wasn't finance, to understand and get through some pretty rigorous content.
Great, Jhan. Thank you so much. And